Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. This is my recap for the 2023 anime Spirit in Chinese Brushes. The story begins as an old sage is getting drunk because he's on the verge of death. A mysterious man arrives and offers to refine his spirit into an ink brush. The old sage jumps at the chance, taking a drink from the man's gourd and writing a poem before becoming a brush. The mysterious man tries to capture the Green Lotus ink brush, but it rejects him and takes off. Sometime later, we meet Luo. He is bored out of his mind in his Chinese ancient civilization class at school when he gets called on to answer a question. Luo's answer is so wrong that everyone laughs, and the teacher's pet jumps in to answer correctly. This is the ultimate teacher's pet as he insists that Luo apologize to the instructor. Luo refuses aggressively, knocking the teacher's cup off his desk, causing everyone to panic. Our boy has reflexes like Spider-Man though, and catches the cup. Luo wonders who the real fool is now, but instantly embarrasses himself when he breaks the teacher's ink brush. Luo is in big trouble as this is the teacher's favorite brush and he is taken to the principal's office. On the way there, we learn that the teacher's pet is named Zhang, and Luo hates him because he's the kind of guy that likes to build himself up by taking other people down. At the principal's office, Zhang apologizes for things getting out of hand since he's the class monitor, but the principal completely understands. Things are completely different for Luo though, as the principal absolutely grills him and tells Luo that he should just pack his things and go home. The teacher then points out how unique and special his pineapple ink brush was, but Luo only wonders if he's going to have to pay for it. The teacher goes into the intricate details of what made it so valuable, but Luo nearly falls asleep and wishes that the old man would just give him a number for how much it will cost him. The teacher's name is Mr. Ju, and he shocks everyone when he tells Luo that he just has to find him the exact same brush and they will be even. The principal can't believe it, but Mr. Ju explains that a great teacher teaches, not punishes. He says that ink brushes have 4 virtues, so Luo will learn a lot finding a replacement. Mr. Ju will get his brush, and Luo will learn stuff, so it's a win-win. Having to find a pen is better than getting kicked out of school, so Luo agrees to do it. He would soon regret this decision though, as he has gone to 10 different flea markets without finding a single pineapple brush. Luo begins to wonder if Mr. Ju did it on purpose. Put him through the torture of having to look for the brush, only to kick him out of school when he couldn't find it. Luo manages to find a guy selling brushes, but they are all junk. The pushy salesman tries to stop him from leaving, but Luo spotted Zhang and goes after him. Luo spies on Zhang as he talks to his uncle Zhao. Zhao tells him that he doesn't have a pineapple brush in his shop, but he has sent his men to go look for one. Luo is furious at Zhang, but is ready to do what he has to do. Just then, Zhao reveals that the brush has been found at a thrift shop in a different city. They decide to have lunch before they go get it, but this only buys our boy some time and he takes off to get the brush. Luo arrives at the shop and instantly falls in love with the girl there. He tries to compliment the amazing things they sell there, but the girl's all business and explains that her grandfather owns the shop. Luo asks to see the pineapple brush and is ecstatic to see that they actually have it. She tells him not to touch it and explains that they have to wait till her grandfather puts a price on it before he can buy it. She lets Luo touch the box though, and he can't understand why it's so cold. Just then, a well-dressed man named Zhuge arrives and asks to speak with Mr. Wei. The girl is very cold to this guy, telling him to leave as he is not welcome there. This jerk snatches the brush from her hand, calls it cheap, and tosses it. Our boy shows off his quick reflexes again though and catches it. The man becomes really upset as he tells the girl that she knows what he is there for. This psycho demands that she get it and says that he has no problem hitting women. Luo stands up for the girl he just fell in love with, but this guy uses some kind of force to push them back. Zhuge takes what he was after and tells the girl named Rong to say hello to her grandfather for him. Rong steps forward, telling Luo to stay back, and uses an ability to attack the man with snow. Zhuge isn't afraid of a few snowflakes, but Rong covers him with even more snow. Zhuge is then shocked as Rong summons a snowstorm ink brush and hits him with some snowballs in the face. Zhuge is tired of playing games and summons his Cloud Rider ink brush. The two battle it out and Luo wonders if he is going crazy. Zhuge points out that she isn't the only one with the spirit brush and warns her that she won't survive his next attack. Rong simply tells him to leave the brush he stole, but he says it would have to be over his dead body. Rong attacks him, but this just causes the brush he stole to go flying out of his package and straight into Luo's chest. Everyone is shocked and we see that something has completely changed in Luo. Zhuge tries to attack him, but he can't match Luo's new speed. Zhuge tries to use an ability, but Luo somehow easily stops it. Rong jumps in to land an attack, but Zhuge instantly counters. Our boy has leveled up big time though, and quickly stops that as well. Zhuge disappears, so Rong asks Luo if he is okay, but he isn't and he passes out. When Luo wakes up, he finds himself in a strange place wearing strange clothes. He thinks it's really quite beautiful, but that doesn't last long as he is knocked off the boat. He wakes up from the dream and takes a nice big whiff of some pink fabric. The shop owner, Mr. Wei, welcomes him and formally introduces his seemingly annoyed granddaughter. Mr. Wei explains that Luo was such a feeble weakling that the cold from the artifacts in his shop knocked him out. Luo's vitals are fine, but he remembers that Rong was fighting with snowflakes and snowstorms. Also, an ink brush went through his chest, so that is the real reason he was knocked out, not because he is feeble. Mr. Wei has a good laugh and simply explains that Luo was just hallucinating like a crazy person. This clever old man changes the subject by embarrassing our boy for hallucinating about Rong and reminds him that he is there to shop. Luo asks about the pineapple pen, but is absolutely shocked when Mr. Wei reveals that he just sold it to a guy named Zhang. Luo begins to leave completely defeated, but Mr. Wei acknowledges that he is responsible for the accident and offers to give him another ink brush to make amends. Mr. Wei explains that this ink brush is far more valuable than the one he wanted, and Luo begins to wonder if he really was hallucinating. Elsewhere, we see that some red dress wearing lady is on a tour and sneaks off to a restricted area in search of something. A man catches her and explains that she is not allowed in the private house, but she just says that she was looking for a bathroom. This guy doesn't even know who lives there as he is just an employee. He gives her a map and tells her to leave, but she takes a selfie with the front gate before she goes. Back with Luo, he really begins to think he was hallucinating, especially since if a brush really went through his chest, then he wouldn't be alive right now. He gets startled by a guy that was on the toilet and leaves as he gets super depressed about not getting the pineapple ink brush. However, he remembers that what his teacher wanted most was for him to learn something. On top of that, he has an even better brush now, so there is still a chance he won't get punished. He goes to visit Mr. Ju and considers adding a sad twist to his ink brush story to get some sympathy. There, he runs into Zhang and worries that he might mess everything up. Zhang gives the pineapple pin he bought to Mr. Ju and he is very impressed. This jerk tells Luo to take notes on how to be an exceptional student, and Zhang prepares to listen to Luo's excuse for not bringing a brush. Luo has a good laugh and reveals that he actually did bring one. The box makes Mr. Ju think that the brush isn't very special, but he is absolutely stunned when he notices something about the brush Luo bought. Mr. Ju excitedly gives it a try and is amazed by everything about it, so Luo has a good laugh at Zhang's expense. Zhang then states the 4 virtues of an ink brush, which are neat, sharp, plump, and durable. Luo laughs at him as these are just simple words, and he gives a more in-depth explanation of the virtues. Mr. Ju is impressed by Luo, and Luo can't even understand how he was able to know these things. Mr. Ju explains that the ink brush that Luo brought him is more than the 4 virtues. He brings up some old poem about while some fight with swords, others can fight with a pen as sharp as a sword. Luo was somehow able to complete the poem, and he wonders if he was just hallucinating again. All in all, Mr. Ju is very happy with the pen and with how much Luo has learned. That night, Luo does some gaming at an internet cafe. He receives a message stating that he shouldn't waste his talents, and he can't believe that he can read ancient writing. Just then, some drunks arrive to harass the cafe owner named Yan. One of the guys is upset that Yan was talking to his girl, so the entire gang is ready to teach him a lesson. Unfortunately for them, Yan has some sweet fighting moves and has no fear at all. Luo jumps in since Yan is so outnumbered, and Yan is a bit surprised to see that Luo is a better friend than he thought. They haven't known each other for long, but Luo points out that Yan helped him get more credits the other day so he could keep gaming. The two are severely outnumbered, so Luo ends up in a bad spot, but a power surges from his body. Luo is somehow able to teleport into the air and even scares himself as he has no clue what is happening to him. The drunk bunch of idiots try to just go after Yan, but Luo instantly descends from the ceiling to rain punches on all of them. The guys run out of there, and Yan can't believe that Luo had been hiding his superhuman fighting skills this entire time. Yan would like to talk about some things, but Luo is exhausted and needs to rest. Luo is certain now that he wasn't hallucinating. He becomes excited since he can somehow read ancient characters and unleash insane combat power. He can't believe this is something that is actually happening in real life and decides to call himself the Inkbrush Ranger. He actually thinks he should try to pick a better name, but falls asleep instead. Luo wakes up to hear a strange man reciting a poem. He gets freaked out by this old dude, but really wakes up this time. He heads home and decides that he needs to go back to the thrift shop to get some answers. Just then, he hears something calling his name and finds that it's some kind of strange monster. Luo does his best to get away, but this thing catches up to him. He calms himself down to remind himself that he has superpowers, but they don't work, and Luo begins to wonder if this will be the end of his life. Elsewhere, we get a quick look as the red-dressed woman breaks into the place she was kicked out of. Back with Luo, his life is about to end at the hands of some terrifying demon, and he goes through all his regrets, not yet having dated a girl or become the hero he was destined to become. Just then, the monster is covered in ice, and Luo can't believe he is still alive. Rong is the one that saved him, and she instantly wants to know where the ink brush is that they gave him. She is furious to hear that he gave it away and lets out her anger by freezing the demon. She finishes it off, and Luo falls in love all over again. They return to the thrift shop, and Luo can't believe that someone is transforming ink brushes into monstrous puppets. Mr. Wei explains that the monsters are created by a top-notch Hu brush, which can only be countered by the coreless ink brush that they gave him. He can't believe that Luo just gave it away and explains that he wouldn't be alive right now if Rong didn't just show up to save him. Luo is quick to point out that they lied to him about everything, and the old man says that he lied to protect him. Mr. Wei explains that Luo is just an average Joe, so he should just try his best to ignore what he has seen and live a normal life. Luo is incredibly insulted to hear this and points out that he was the one that saved Rong from Zuge the other day. Luo refuses to walk away from trouble when he has these new superpowers, so Mr. Wei tells him to wait on making his decision till after he hears everything. Mr. Wei then tells a story about an unknown scribe called the Burial Owner that lived in a time where people burnt books and ended the lives of scholars. It was a time of chaos, and this man watched scholars being buried by bitter hatred. He swore not to let talent be wasted and developed a method to gather the spirits of these scholars into ink brushes. These would be called the brush spirits. The spirit inside Luo's brush is named Li Bai. This person was known as the King of Poems, so Luo wonders if that makes him the king of all brush rangers. The only problem though is that this green lotus ink brush inside Luo is not the complete one, it's just a vestige. Just then, Mr. Wei springs into action and attacks someone behind Luo. This man is named Li, and he just came to see the man that injured Zuge. Luo was completely lost, and Rong simply explains that this is the man that's trying to take his life. He is chief of the Zuge family, so he is not to be underestimated. Rong tries to attack him, but this only puts her in danger. Our brave protagonist tries to protect her, but Mr. Wei has to do it instead. The old men fight as Li states that the 7 Dukes of City Guan are his. Rong explains that those are the 7 superior long-lost brush spirits made by the Burial Owner, including the Green Lotus brush. Li wants to take the Green Lotus brush to split the ink brush from the host. To do this, he will have to eliminate the host, and that is Luo. A look at where the red dress lady was reveals a bunch of frantic guards screaming that the ink brush library has just been robbed. They want to capture the thief, but this lady is long gone. The fight between old men continues, but Mr. Wei is in really bad shape. Rong tells Luo to run, and they will stall Li for a while. Things get really bad as Li is about to finish off Mr. Wei, but Luo once again shows his lightning quick reflexes and uses his new immense power to save him. Li is amazed to see the vestige inside Luo in action, but Mr. Wei tells Luo that he doesn't stand a chance against Li. Luo says that he can't back down either, but soon finds himself at the mercy of Li. Li prepares to end his life, but Mr. Wei sacrifices himself to save Luo. Mr. Wei managed to do just enough damage to force Li to retreat, but Li states that they won't be able to protect Luo for long. Thankfully, the two guys are okay, but Mr. Wei explains that this was only Li's clone, and there are many dangers ahead. They have to quickly learn how to split the brush spirit from Luo's body, but first Luo should learn how to control it. That way he can protect himself in case anything bad happens to them. Luo refuses to let them risk their lives for him anymore, but Mr. Wei points out that it was his fault that Luo got into this mess, so it's his job to protect him. Luo says that he will agree to learn how to control the brush spirit, but only if it means that he can not only protect himself, but them too. Mr. Wei agrees to train him, but he needs time to recover, so Rong volunteers to tutor him instead. Mr. Wei allows it, and Luo is just glad to see that Rong might not hate him as much as he thought. Later, Luo returns to school and gets plenty of attention for having Rong next to him. Rong takes him to a library and explains that Luo will have to memorize all the poetry Li Bai wrote. Of course, Luo dreads this, as it's just like Chinese ancient civilization class all over again. He points out how stressed out she looks and tries to tell her a joke, but it misses really bad. Just then, Zheng arrives reciting poems like a jerk and introduces himself to Rong. Zheng then mocks Luo relentlessly and gets Luo so flustered that he can't even think straight. Zheng assumes that Rong is just with him out of pity. He explains that Luo is a troublemaker that almost got kicked out of school, so he urges her to stay away from him. Other students begin to join in on the insults, but Rong has heard enough. She points out that Zheng is just acting tough and he should learn how to humble himself. Luo is amazed to see that she stood up for him, and she takes his hand as they leave. Everyone is surprised to see this, but this dude Zheng thinks she is just playing hard to get with him. A little later, Luo is still amazed, and he wonders if this is what love is. He explains that he can visualize all the poems in his head, but he can't quite understand what they mean. Rong explains that different scholars transform into different spirits, and normally they choose someone in sync with them in nature. However, sometimes they just choose any host that is stupid like him. That's why it can't bring out the best in it. The nosy Zhang has been listening this whole time and wonders if ink brushes are real. He thinks that if he can get his hands on one, with his talent he could become famous. Luo almost falls asleep from all the boring reading, and Rong explains that understanding Li Bai is the best way to forge a bond with his spirit brush. Li Bai's writing is far too advanced for his slow brain, so they must start with easier poets. Luo thinks he deserves a break, but Rong tells him that he can rest forever when the Zuge family comes to get him. Luo wonders if there's anyone that will fight with him, but no one wants to stand up against the Zuge family. Luo compares his life to a video game, but can't believe he already has to face the final boss. Rong explains that the power of every brush spirit is affected by the talent it contains. Our boy will have a much greater chance of success if he can find its origin and feature. Luo is a terrible student as he just wants to sleep, but Rong beats him over the head with more information. Our boy impresses her by showing that he actually knows quite a bit about the writer inside of her Snowstorm ink brush. This is completely out of character for our simple-minded protagonist, and it turns out that he asked Mr. Ju to help him so he could get closer to Rong. His devious plan works perfectly as Rong smiles for the first time in her life. Luo blissfully recites a poem in his mind, but Rong quickly snaps him out of it. Rong speaks very highly of the burial owner, so Luo gets jealous and questions if he ever did anything for society. He points out how selfish the man was and now understands why Li Bai's green lotus brush flew away. Just then, an energy flows from Luo's body and a deer comes out. He celebrates because he made some kind of connection with his spirit brush, but unfortunately this just means more studying. Elsewhere, Zheng calls his uncle Zhao and asks him if he can get into contact with a woman named Yi. She is an expert in something, and Zheng has an ink brush she might be interested in. Later that night, Luo gets a lot of attention in front of his dorm for having Rong by his side. He tells her to head home, but she demands that she stay with him. All the dudes around are shocked to hear this, so Luo decides that they need to go somewhere else. He takes her to the internet cafe, and he has to clear things up when his friend thinks Rong is his girl. Yan introduces himself to her and sees the two lovebirds together. Luo thinks she looks strange just surfing the internet since she seems pretty uptight. Rong explains that she is practically from a different world and people like her go through endless training since childhood. She is glad to be there, so Luo tells her that they can train and study later. Now it's time for him to teach her something, so she agrees to learn how to play a game. Luo loads up some League and the two get to gaming. After some time, Luo wonders if Rong really hasn't played before because she is so good. Rong's a fast learner and she explains that playing games is much easier than controlling a brush spirit. She wants Luo to study hard, and he becomes excited when he realizes that the more poems he recites, the stronger his spirit brush will be. Luo begins studying right then and there. He eventually falls asleep but wakes up after having the same dream with the creepy old guy. Rong falls asleep and Yan wonders why since it's only 10:30. Luo proudly explains that Rong isn't just any girl, and she doesn't have time to sleep like ordinary people. Yan explains that a girl like her will eventually get bored of coming to the internet cafe, and recommends Luo come up with more date ideas. Luo thanks his buddy and goes to stare at Rong for a bit. He thinks about how he is now in sync with the green lotus brush, and he has recited plenty of poems. If he can get the coreless ink brush back to complete his brush spirit, then he can defend himself. Luo doesn't want Rong to be in danger anymore, so he contacts Mr. Ju and asks him if he can borrow the coreless ink brush again. Unfortunately, Mr. Ju explains that Zheng has a friend that was interested in it as well, and he already borrowed it to her. Luo gets furious at his rival and runs off to look for him. He tells Yan to look after Rong, and Yan can't believe how kids these days just leave their dates. Luo heads to Zheng's uncle's house, but it's way too dark and he falls flat on his face. He freaks out after tripping over a lifeless body, but luckily Zheng's uncle is still breathing. Luo begins to call for help, but he hears Zheng's voice, and Luo feels a great deal of pain when his brush spirit becomes uneasy. He puts his phone on silent and goes to have a peek at what's going on. He finds that the mysterious woman is doing something crazy to Zheng, and she states out loud that the coreless ink brush takes more time to refine than others. Zheng is clearly in a great deal of pain, but she tells him that he is lucky to become her brush puppeteer. Luo freaks out at what he is witnessing, but Zheng isn't dead yet and he still has time to save him. Zheng has a stupid looking face that Luo just wants to slap, but Zheng is still another life at the end of the day. He realizes that he needs Rong's help, but she won't make it in time. The mysterious woman looks crazy powerful, so Luo thinks he will lose his life instantly if he tries to fight her. He racks his brain trying to decide what to do and comes up with an idea. The mysterious lady's just hanging out, and Luo shockingly calls out to her. She comes outside where Luo acts furious after finding out that she dared to lay her hands on a member of the Zuge family. He confidently says that she has signed her own death warrant, but she tells the little boy to go home to bed. Luo makes it clear that he is not playing games and releases a burst of energy that makes her realize that he has a brush spirit. Luo explains that Mr. Li is very angry, and she is in huge trouble, but she points out that Zhang was the one that brought the coreless ink brush to her. Zhang didn't know a single thing about brush spirits, but Luo doesn't want to hear it. Luo's bluff surprisingly works, and this girl who is named Yi promises to do whatever she can for the Zuge family. Luo realizes that people really are afraid of the Zuge family and tells her to give Zhang back. Luo promises to put in a good word for her with his master, but this just seems to give him away. Yi has a good laugh as she has realized that this idiot lied to her, and she prepares to show him how powerful her angular ink brush can be. Luo tries to escape as fast as he can, but it's no use as Yi's chains catch him. All of Luo's limbs are now numb and sore, so he can't move. She points out that Mr. Li is not the master, and she will have to punish Luo for lying. Luo realizes that he underestimated this woman, and she gives him a little history lesson on her brush spirit. While she does that, our boy tries summoning his power, but he fails. Yi reveals that her chains connect to all 5 senses, and they control nerves. Numbness, itchiness, and pain overwhelm his body, but Luo isn't ready to die. Yi causes even greater pain, but eventually gets bored and decides that it's time to take his life. Her final chain takes our boy by the neck, and she begins choking him. Just as Luo is about to lose consciousness, he remembers the poem about taking one's own life. Luo begins reciting this poem, and insane amounts of power begin flowing from his body. Yi is shocked when this power flows through her chains, and she has no clue what is going on. Luo continues reciting the poem until his body bursts with energy, and Yi realizes that he has the Green Lotus Brush vestige. Our boy is becoming a real nerd as the sunrise reminds him of another poem. He recites it and instantly attacks with purple fog. Yi tries to counter, but it's no hope against our boy's fog. Luo destroys several of her little snakes, so she gives up on that, and our little nerd keeps reciting poems. All his nerdy studying really pays off though, as Luo is able to create a gigantic wave. He prepares another, but something goes wrong. Luckily, Yi already ran away, but our boy's just glad that she left something, and Zhang seems to be okay. Yan tells Rong that he has no clue where Luo is, and he just happens to arrive. Luo doesn't realize that he dropped the thing he took from Yi, but we see that Zhang is in really bad shape, as he looks like a zombie. Luo explains what happened, so Rong analyzes Zhang's destroyed body. She explains that he was devoured by the coreless ink brush all over except for his brain. All she can do is slow down the refinement, but she can't stop it. Just then, Zhang's father barges in and has his men take Zhang to the hospital. Zhang's father thanks Luo for saving his son, but says that he never should have brought him to a quack, referring to Rong. Luo prepares to stick up for his woman, but Mr. Zhang gives him some money and leaves. Afterwards, Rong is really proud of our boy for summoning attacks. Those poems he recited are supposed to make people depressed and gloomy, but Luo just got more smug. She points out that he was reciting verse after verse, so that is why he fell out of rhythm. Just then, he realizes that he lost the thing he took from Yi. Yan finds it on the floor and opens it, but is shocked when a brush pops out. The others arrive to see this as well, but it's too late as the brush enters Yan's body. Luo is concerned, but Rong explains that he just connected with the brush spirit. Luo lets him just fall to the floor, and Yan has a good nap. Yan eventually wakes up and demands that Luo tell him if he is good or evil. Yan always knew that Luo was part of a secret agency where everyone has superpowers. Luo says that they are good, so Yan is just glad that he must be a new chosen member. Yan immediately starts to think of a plan to protect Zhang since he's likely going to be hunted, but Rong tries to stop him. Yan, the new hero, hilariously tells them that nothing is more important than saving the lives of the powerless, and they take off. They go to the hospital to see Zhang, and Yan wants to know the origins of his brush spirit. Unfortunately, they don't know, so he will have to figure it out himself, but Luo tells him to just relax since he is at least still alive. He tries to relax, but people's blood all around him catches his attention. His fingertips begin to glow, and he wonders if he has just awakened his powers. Luo is shocked that it happened so fast, but Rong warns him not to get too close as his powers could be destructive. Luo imagines the worst case scenario, but they are interrupted by a dark cloud. Zhang isn't the one doing it, and Rong reveals that this is a 5-colored brush which casts hallucinations. Unfortunately, the boys have already been captured and are having the hallucinations of their lives. Rong tells the idiots to close their eyes, but she is captured soon after. Her hallucination is terrifying, but luckily our boy Luo breaks free. He rescues Rong and she blocks off the fog. Their opponent explains that the yellow light arouses one's lust, cyan arouses fear, and red arouses weakness. Rong blocks the opponent's next attack, and Yan tries his best to summon his powers. Unfortunately, the typical hero moves don't work and Luo is hit with red light. His friends rush to help him and Yan knocks him down as he is too afraid to use his fingers. Luo just manages to save Rong and she explains that their attacker is from the Zuge family. This person is after Luo, so she fortifies her defense, but the guy just sends out some demons to attack them. While they defend themselves, Rong gives the boys a history lesson on some poets. The Pen Briel owner couldn't make it to some writer named Guos' deathbed, but he did keep Guos' wandering soul. 200 years later, he put the soul into a boy called Jiang Yan. Rong wants Yan to recite any of Li Bai's poems, but he doesn't know any, and she is hit with the red light. Luo rushes to protect his girl and snaps her out of the hallucination. Unfortunately, he was too distracted by her, and he is shockingly pierced right through the chest by a demon. He tells Rong to escape, and the monster tosses him right into Yan. Yan accidentally touches him with his glowing Cheeto fingers, and the giant hole in Luo's chest surprisingly heals. Luo can't understand how he's still alive, and Yan accidentally spreads his Cheeto dust all over Rong as well. Her injuries heal too, and they realize that it's because of Yan's fingers. Yan gets a little confident and walks right up to the demons, but they just wail on him. Yan heals himself and his friends assume he is putting in work. Yan uses his healing ability to make it through all the fog and eventually finds the guy causing all the problems. The guy tries to give up, but Yan beats him down anyway. Rong gives him some cover, and the guy tries to use a sneak attack, but Yan handles it easily. Luo reveals that all the demons are destroyed, but this guy goes all crazy and tries to heal himself with Yan's powers. It backfires pretty hard on this idiot, and he is knocked back. The guy runs off and they decide to just let him go. Normal people can't see what they see, and Luo declares that being a hero is his job. Rong gets upset as she doesn't need to be rescued, and the boys go to see Zhang. Mr. Zhu is there, and he has many regrets since Zhang is still in a coma. He doesn't think that the coreless ink brush is worth all the danger, and explains that it was made by an ancient member of the Zuge family. They leave and Yang gets the idea to try his healing power on Zhang, but it isn't potent enough. Luo goes to find Rong, but she is on the phone. Surprisingly, she tells the person on the phone that Luo has taken the bait and the plan is going perfectly. Luo believes whatever she says, and he's easy to manipulate. Luo instantly confronts her, but she says that what she's talking about was so obvious. There is no way he actually thought she would want to hang out with an idiot like him. Afterwards, we find that Luo is really upset with the Wei family, so they decide that Luo will have to learn the hard way. It turns out that Rong revealed that her grandfather planned it from the start. They earned Luo's trust so they could use his green lotus brush to track the 7 dukes. She manipulated him and surprisingly now calls him a good puppet. Luo was furious that they were just using him and wonders why his mother didn't warn him that women lie. Just then, Yi appears and reveals that she was looking for him. He stole her brush, but he reveals that he doesn't have it anymore. She knows that Luo was connected to the Wei family, but he denounces them. Yi is glad to hear that he is a Lone Ranger now, and would like for them to team up so they can find the 7 dukes themselves. Yi determines that the Wei family girl must have broken his heart, but he tells her to shut up. Her laughing is getting pretty annoying, but she then offers to heal Zhang if Luo works for her. She reminds him that he just can't let a life go without saving it, but Luo was done with trusting women. Yi eventually convinces him and she drags Luo along to retrieve the life-saving tool. Luo thinks about letting her heal Zhang, but then betraying her since everyone seems to be lying these days anyway. Yi retrieves the item that's supposed to save Zhang and explains that the Inkstone is alive. This turns out to just be a trick though, as she tases our boy into unconsciousness. Luo just can't catch a break when it comes to women, and Yi puts him in her trunk. Yan finds Rong inside the hospital, and they both wonder where Luo went. Luo wakes up to find that he is all tied up, and his brush beard is being restricted by some kind of seal. Luo has his phone call Yan, but Yi retrieves him from the trunk. She tosses him on the ground and reveals that she has brought him to a temple where she can end his life if she so pleases. She wants his green lotus brush vestige, but her attack surprisingly doesn't work because it was blocked by some kind of bead. A mysterious person arrives and reveals that they know that Yi stole brushes from the Wei mansion. This bald dude tells his right-hand man named Zhu to knock out Yi, but she puts up a good fight. The little karate dude overwhelms her, but Yi manages to free Luo with her magic. She promises that she won't hurt Luo if he helps her, but he doesn't know what to believe. Our boy ends up cheering for the karate kid, but just before he's about to win, he stops. Zhu wants her to stand up so they can start the fight over, but his boss tells him to not have mercy on people like her. Zhu continues his barrage of attacks, but he uses Luo as a shield and manages to get away. The bald-headed dude uses one of his beads to free Zhu, and we find that his name is Master Bidet. They all introduce themselves, but Luo tells them that he doesn't have a brush spirit. This bald-headed dude surprisingly knows that Luo actually has the Green Lotus brush spirit though, and was able to figure it out because of the seal. Luo prepares for a fight, but they explain that they don't mean any harm. Luo doesn't believe them, but Master Bidet instantly shuts our boy down. Bidet explains that he disrupted Luo's rhythm, and if Luo tries to force himself, he will only get hurt. He is impressed with Luo's ability, and explains that he only wants to learn more about the Green Lotus brush spirit vestige. Bidet reveals that the Wei family had succession problems a long time ago. The family turned against one another, and there were several casualties. Rong's grandfather was the instigator, and he disappeared ever since then. They notice someone's presence, and Zhu instantly runs off to handle it. It turns out to be Yan, so Luo calms everyone down. Yan heard everything thanks to Luo's phone call, and he knows that the bald-headed guy probably knows that the ink brush Yi stole is inside of him. Bidet does and reveals that his brush spirit is called the Eyebrow Drawing Brush by Zhang Chang. Zhang's wife broke the tail of her eyebrow, so the simp drew her eyebrows for her with the brush every single day. Rong gave Yan something to show Luo, but they notice that someone is approaching. Bidet hides their presence, and Luo recognizes that the intruder is King. Bidet explains that this temple emanates depression and sorrow. As a result, aura doesn't circulate well there, so this place is used to pull brush spirits out of people's bodies. It's considered a slaughterhouse, which is why Yi brought him there. King performs the brush spirit removing ritual on some poor unconscious guy, and Luo realizes that it could have been him. King prepares to stab the guy, but Luo and the other boys decide to step forward. Bidet is disappointed in the foolish young men, but King is glad to see Luo once again. King is glad that the Green Lotus brush vestige came to him, and Luo was shocked that the guy under the spell has one of the 7 dukes inside of him. Lu fails to use his power when King attacks, but luckily Zhu is able to protect him. Luo's brush isn't listening to him, so Bidet points out that he is too weak right now. King is insanely powerful though, so Bidet must back up his protege. Zhu uses his sweet hand-to-hand combat skills to disarm King and falls back whenever King uses magic. This allows Zhu to push King back with physical attacks, but King has had enough and prepares a powerful attack that stirs the clouds. This attack is able to shatter Bidet's defense, and Yan finds out that his cooldown on his healing ability isn't done yet. King reveals that anything they do is futile at this point since they will all soon be dead. Bidet finds the strength to put up another barrier and tells Zhu to get the others out of there. King shows off another powerful attack though, and it quickly destroys this barrier as well. King refuses to let them even think of getting away, and Zhu heroically protects the others by sacrificing himself. King then takes a hold of Luo, so his closest friend desperately attacks King. King is pretty unstoppable at this point though, and easily takes out both Yan and Luo. He wants to get revenge for what Luo did to him, but the guy under the spell asks Luo for help. King won't be having any of that though, so he turns his attention to the guy and shockingly ends his life. Yan thinks about how he has never been beaten up so badly in his life, and finds that the cooldown for his ability is over for one of his fingers. King extracts the ink brush from the dead guy, and Bidet recognizes it as the pupil marking ink brush. King prepares to end Luo next, but Yan saves him. Yan shows Luo his finger, but Luo is concerned since his ability backfired on that one bad guy before. King then continues to overpower our heroes, but Yan has come to a decision. He takes a risk by using his ability, but he accidentally touches the pupil marking ink brush instead. King has to keep it from escaping, and the guys determine that the ability of Yan's brush must be to turn back time. This actually kinda makes sense, as his healing is just undoing wounds. The damage he caused to that one bad guy was just redoing damage that was done seconds before. The same goes for opening King's ink brush holder. King tries to go after Luo again, but quickly regrets it when his attack hits the ink brush he is trying to recapture. Everyone is then shocked when the ink brush shoots right into Luo's body. Everyone is stunned since Luo now has 2 ink brushes inside him, but that should be impossible. Immense amounts of power now flows through Luo's body, and he demands that King hand over his Cloud Rider ink brush as well. Luo uses his newfound power to attack, but finds that King just managed to get away. Yan is amazed that Luo learned how to use his new power so quickly, but Luo is exhausted. Luo reveals that he actually just recited a poem in his head from the Green Lotus brush, but it was only to scare King away. In reality, he doesn't know how to use the new ink brush at all. Bidet checks Luo's body and shockingly reveals that Luo somehow managed to fuse 2 brush spirits. No one has ever done this before, so Yan considers Luo the chosen one. According to legend, someone once tried to forcibly do it, but they died suddenly. Luo panics as he thinks he might drop dead at any moment, but Yan remembers that Rong had a message for Luo. Luckily, it explains a safe way to split a brush spirit from one's body. It might as well be gibberish though, because the boys can't decipher the riddle, so Bidet gives it a try. Yan thinks Luo should try to talk to Rong, but Luo explains that her grandfather is too dangerous, and he would rather keep his distance. Luo explains that he isn't sure if Rong is actually trying to help him, or if she is just trying to lure him back. Bidet reveals that the message mentioned something about 2 places called the Pen Burials, but he has never heard of a way to safely split brush spirits. Bidet has Yan and Zhu go to the 2 locations, while he and Luo go to his village to do some research. At his village, Bidet introduces Luo to his uncle Ding. This guy thinks they are there to party monk style, but Bidet surprisingly reveals to him that Luo is there to see the chief. The party Ding spoke of is a talent selection ceremony held regularly in the village. The talent favored by the brush spirits will become the pen burial scribe. Bidet then explains to the chief, who is also his father, about what happened. Of course, the chief is in disbelief since Luo has retained 2 brushes inside of him for so long, with nothing bad happening. The chief tells Luo that his body is special, and if he works hard, then he can achieve great things. Luo is just an ordinary dude though, and doesn't want to risk his life for all that nonsense. Luo just wants to get the brushes out of his body, so the chief just sighs. Luo and Bidet are then shockingly restrained, and Bidet explains that Luo trusted him to bring him to the village. The chief explains that the 2 brushes in Luo's body have become attached to each other, and the green lotus brush won't let the other brush leave easily. The chief tells his son that he has no chance of beating him, so he should just stop fighting it. The chief doesn't want to miss the opportunity to strengthen the Wei family, and also doesn't want anyone else to have it. He needs to think about what he will do about the situation, especially since he doesn't know how much time he has left in this world. In the chief's room, Ding tries to convince his brother not to help Luo. Ding reminds him that their family has already suffered greatly. The Zhang family already has their eyes on Luo, so he will surely attract unwanted destruction to their village. The chief returns to the guys and decides to free them, as he concludes that they should be able to make their own decisions. As an apology, the chief tells Luo the real power of the pupil marking brush. It has the power of prophecy, and Luo can use it to answer questions when he feels lost. Luo thinks of the most general question ever and asks it what he should do next. One of the bristles falls off the brush, and the chief reveals something terrifying. Every time Luo uses the power of the pupil marking brush, it will cost him a little bit of his life. When all the bristles are gone, Luo's life will come to an end too. The stupid brush just writes the pen burial poem, and the chief explains that the brush only identifies the best possible direction. What Luo does with that is up to him. Bidet wonders if this means that they should definitely split the brush from Luo's body, and Luo agrees with it. The chief comes up with an idea, but feels a crazy amount of pain. He is under some kind of attack, but it ends soon after. Bidet reveals that the ink brush inside the chief is gone, and so is his life. Some random lady arrives, shocked to see that the chief is dead. Bidet tells her to quiet down since the attacker might still be around. However, this lady is really dumb, and fears that Bidet and Luo murdered the chief. She runs off to spread the fake news, and Bidet explains that it's hopeless, they have been set up. After the guys leave, the rest of the village arrives, and Ding tells the others to close off the village exits so that they can't get away. The boys make their way to some temple where Bidet reveals a hidden passageway. He explains that they are being hunted now, so the only place they can hide is Wei's brush library. This library hides all the free brush spirits collected by the village. It's extremely confidential, and no one is even allowed to approach it without the chief's consent. Now that the chief is gone, the villagers will likely have a hard time deciding who will check the library. This means they will have some time to figure out how to get out of there. Bidet explains that Yi stole a brush from there before and never showed up again after entering the brush library. This means that there must be a secret way out. They find something that opens the door, and Bidet explains that there are mechanisms in place. These mechanisms test the participants' abilities during the brush spirit's return. There are a whole bunch of doors inside and strange writing on the walls. Some brushes are at the center, but Bidet panics and tells Luo to turn off his light. Power erupts and Bidet explains that the brush activated when his flashlight hit it. The mechanism has been activated, so Bidet whispers some kind of plan to Luo. Luo summons a large bell and rings it very loudly. Bidet reveals that these monsters, known as brush puppeteers, don't have sight. They rely on their hearing to move around, so the loud ringing will mess with them. Luo beats down on these things, and they revert back to being brushes. Luo removes the bristles from the brushes, and wonders if Bidet was impressed since he hid his footsteps with sound. Bidet has realized that the writing on the walls is of famous literature, but it's all out of order. This brainiac figures out something about the shapes of the symbols, and figures out where the exit is. The guys eventually reach the place where all the hidden brushes are. Luo is confident that with Bidet's ability, he can pass the test of the brush spirit's return easily. Bidet admits that brush spirits are pretty cool, but he doesn't want one since Luo doesn't even want the one he has. The guys notice that there are some strange sword marks all over one of the walls, and Luo remembers how Yi was able to summon 2 swords when they fought. He determines that she was hitting the wall in an attempt to find a way out. She clearly didn't have time to steal more than one brush, so she of course didn't have time to find the door. They find a spot on the wall that looks like it was repaired, and determine that this must be where the exit used to be. Luo uses his power to blow it open, and explains that this is how a stressed person solves problems. The guys finally find the exit, but it's time for them to part ways. There are many mysteries behind the death of Bidet's father, and he wants to find out the truth. Afterwards, Luo eventually finds Yan, but he can't sleep. He asks the pupil brush about how he can successfully split the brush spirit, but it doesn't do anything. The stupid brush ends up giving him back an empty sheet of paper, but Luo still loses a bit of life for using it. Luo begins to think about asking wrong, but Yan says that women will only slow Luo down. Yan reminds Luo that he still has himself and Zhu, so they will help him with the split. Bidet told them not to tell Zhu about what happened to the chief, since he will surely want to rush back to the village. They come up with a lie to tell him and go to sleep. Nearby, some strangers are watching the boys, and they know that Luo has the pupil marking brush. King is with him, and he blames them for what happened to the chief. The next morning, the guys arrive at a temple. Some old master named Zi Young once buried baskets of brushes he has used for decades next to the towers in the temple. He also set up a tablet that reads the words brush burial. They arrive at the place, but Luo has some strange, painful vision. Just then, they are attacked, and Zhu goes after the culprit. Another attacker appears and introduces herself as Shiju, the person that will take their lives. The guys just barely manage to dodge her blades, and a third attacker appears. This guy mispronounces Luo's name, so Yan corrects him. Just then, something begins to happen to Yan, and he is shocked to find that he has been turned into his eyebrows brush. The cool glasses attacker guy explains that this place is his spiritual territory. Only brushes exist here, and he could only get Yan there by making him say Luo's name. This guy reveals that Yan is trapped, and it's because of his Asur water brush. The only way Yan can get out is by demonstrating high-level rhyming skills. Outside, Luo runs for his life, and Shiju reveals that she's getting revenge for what they did to the chief. Luo is running out of time, so he uses his power to summon a sword, but unfortunately it's incredibly weak. Next he summons some armor, but that doesn't last for long. Luo realizes that he's in a really bad spot, but Shiju points out that his friends are doing even worse. A look at Zhu shows that King is killing him, and a look at Yan shows that he is still captured. Shiju prepares to end Luo's life, but he is still confident for some reason, and creates a smoke screen. Shiju gets rid of it and instantly finds Luo. Luo tries to get away by summoning a dragon, but Shiju quickly shoots him down. Her blade causes some weird ooze to come out of one of the stones, and Luo is left to wonder what kind of strange power her giant brush has. Back with Yan, the cool glasses guy instructs him to read a poem with a certain rhythm. Yan scoffs at this guy since he can only battle with others' poems. Yan antagonizes him by pointing out that he doesn't have any of his own poems, so the guy gets flustered and is determined to prove Yan wrong. This guy doesn't realize it, but he just fell right into Yan's plan. Yan then demonstrates his exceptional rhythm and rhyming abilities by rapping. Yan has started a rap battle, but Glasses guy just gets flustered. Yan keeps rapping and starts dissing Mr. Glasses relentlessly. The barrier around them begins to crack, and the Glasses guy can't understand how Yan was able to rule his spiritual territory. Yan tells this guy that he will never be able to understand the power of a rap god, and Glasses takes heavy damage. Yan takes a look at how Luo is doing, but finds that his friend's attacks are all being destroyed. Just then, their fight is interrupted though, as a terrifyingly huge creature appears from the ground. This monster clearly has massive amounts of power, but it seems like it can barely move. The thing seems to be targeting Shiju, but Luo's pupil brush automatically forces Luo to save her. The brush then protects the both of them, but Shiju thinks that Luo is trying to develop some plot with her. Shiju begins to tear up for some reason, but Luo has no clue as to why. What he is certain of though, is that the pupil brush tricked him into saving her for some reason. Their friends risk their lives to come to their aid, and the attackers decide that they will have to get revenge another time. Luo and Yan go to rescue Zhu, but they are shocked when they see that the monster has long-range attacks as well. Luo's shield is about to break because of this attack, so Yan wants Luo to teach him how to make a barrier with his brush. Unfortunately though, Luo has no clue since the pupil brush is doing it on its own. Shiju saves Glasses from getting wrecked, but the entire group is stunned when they see that all their running has just brought them all back to the monster. They all hide, and it becomes apparent to them that the floating heads are disorienting them. The monster will find them soon and crush them, so Old Glasses thinks they should team up. He wants them to combine their power to make a stronger barrier, but Luo has no clue how to do that. Shiju explains that he simply needs to feel the flow of his brush's power inside of him. Once it reaches his heart, then he needs to direct the flow to the target with his mind. They manage to do it just in time as the monster begins to do something. It strangely transforms into some kind of monk, and they assume that it's the master that buried the brushes there. The monster begins calling for someone named Chao, so Mr. Glasses realizes that this is the grudge of the master's disciple named Kai. A long time ago, the master entrusted Kai with some secret writing just before he died. Kai eventually broke his deceased master's trust by sharing this writing with a guy named Chao. Chao turned out to be working for another emperor and stole the writing. Kai then eventually perished in a vengeful sorrow. This thing is Kai's ghost, and it's extremely angry. The group is quickly running out of spiritual power, and their barrier is about to be destroyed. Luo tries to use his green lotus brush, but the pupil brush doesn't let him. Just then, Yan realizes that Luo's pupil brush has been pointing in the direction of the pen burial, no matter which direction Luo was looking in. The power within the burial must be reminding Kai of what he is so angry about, so they decide to destroy the burial. They need to find its exact location before their shield is destroyed, but the air is too thick with revenge to see anything. They will have to rely solely on the pupil brush to lead the way, but Glasses points out that they will take severe damage stepping outside the barrier. Yan points out that he can just heal them with his ability, but they will only have 9 chances. The 2 boys and Shiju are the ones to go, but they are quickly attacked by the ghost. Yan heals them all up, but that only leaves them with 6 more chances. Shiju rushes to save Luo after he gets hit, but this causes her to take damage as well. Yan is forced to heal them all again, leaving them with only 3 chances. Eventually, he is only left with 1, but Shiju bravely says that she doesn't need any more healing. They finally reach the burial, so Yan uses his last heal on Shiju anyway, so she can end the fight. Shiju steps forward and uses her immense power to deal a massive blow. The ghost is shockingly taking form again, and Shiju spots Kai's urn. She apologizes for what she must do and destroys it, but she is knocked back. Things have calmed down enough for Glasses to rush to Shiju's side, but the ghost remains. A strange energy bursts in the distance, and a brush emerges after the energy enters some water. This brush begins to agitate Kai's ghost, but everyone is shocked to see that Luo's green lotus brush vestige has the ability to tame brush spirits. It seems that this new brush is one of the 7 dukes, as it begins to write something using Kai's ghost goo. Its writing makes it clear that this is the cloud brush, and Kai begins to cry. Kai is reunited with the secret writing he was supposed to protect, and he is finally able to rest in peace. Glasses tries to capture the cloud brush, but Wrong's grandpa Wei arrives to stop him. Glasses tries to fight for the brush, but it's no use as he is frozen by Wrong. Luo pleads for an explanation from his old crush, so she states that Kai's spirit is in the cloud brush, and whoever takes the brush will be devoured by its grudge. The 7 dukes are attracted to each other, so the only reason the cloud brush hasn't escaped is because of Luo's green lotus brush. Luo becomes enraged as he begins to realize something. Mr. Wei wrote the letter that was sent by Wrong, and its entire purpose was to trick him into coming to the burial so Luo could help them take the cloud brush. Luo tries to strike Wei down with some lightning, but Wei just sends it right back at him. Wrong rushes to make sure he is okay, but Wei just laughs. He tells Luo to keep his brush spirit since it will be for his own good. Luo pushes Wrong off of him as he will never be able to trust her again, so she leaves. King arrives soon after and explains that Wei knocked him out. He wants to eliminate our heroes, but Glasses convinces them to just take them back to their house. Their ink brush holder is broken, so they won't be able to capture their brushes anyway. When they get home, however, King is furious to hear that their clan master wants to interrogate them before taking their brushes. When King is alone, he becomes worried since he is sure that the guys will reveal that he murdered the guy named Fang. He knows exactly what he must do, as he states that only the dead can keep a secret. King goes to their cell, but is shocked to find that the guards have been taken out. Inside the cell is an even more shocking scene, as Shiju has already eliminated the guys. Shiju was just avenging the chief and reveals that the guys were holding onto Fang's stuff. King recognizes Fang's picture, but she wonders how that could be possible since he never met him before, so he tries to come up with a lie. He says that Fang's name was just on the ID, but it's shockingly a different name. This means that he recognized Fang from the picture, but he isn't supposed to know what he looks like. Unfortunately for him, his lies fail one after another, and the boys reveal that they were just pretending. The ID was actually Yan's, with Fang's picture over it. Some guy named Fei appears and tells King that he has a lot of explaining to do. A look into the recent past shows the boys being interrogated. Luo tried to tell Fei that King murdered Fang, but Fei didn't believe him. He did, however, allow Luo to ask his pupil brush what the best way to prove his innocence would be. The pupil brush did its thing and came up with a plan. The guys pretend to be dead and they catch King in a lie which proves their innocence. King has no choice but to fight his way out, but the guys knock him out. They chain King up and Fei uses his brush's ability to pull out King's brush. His brush then allows him to get answers from King's brush since King was refusing to speak. Fei wants to know who he works for, but King just says they could never imagine the power his master has, and he spits out blood. King is dying, so Yan tries to keep him alive, but his ability fails for some reason. Glasses explains that Yan's ability can only turn back time from a short moment ago, so whatever has eliminated King must be from a while back. Fei suspects that whatever took King out was triggered when King spoke of the secret mastermind he was working for. Whoever created it must be super powerful, so Yan's ability had no chance of helping King. Afterwards, Shiju thanks Luo for saving her at the burial, but he just credits the pupil brush for doing it. Fei thanks Luo for helping them find the traitor and reveals that the clan master wants to meet with them. The guy is the master of the Zuge family, so Luo realizes that the guy that was after him before must have been a faker. The clan master's name is Lee, and he offers to help Luo with whatever he needs as a reward for his help. Luo just wants to know how to split from his brush spirit, but Lee has no clue how to do it. He tells him to go to a place called the Nunnery, but warns to watch out for the Death Brush Scribe. They are evil scribes that studied brush puppeteer refining and developed the art of refining the living into brush spirits known as the Death Brush. The Death Brush spirits will swallow human souls and possess their bodies. They become puppets which only obey the caster's orders. These scribes are evil and will definitely be interested in Luo's 2 brushes. Both the Zuge family and the Wei families couldn't wipe out all these Death Brush spirits even with their combined efforts. Elsewhere, Wei apologizes to Wrong, but she is upset. This manipulative old man explains that he doesn't have much time left and is just worried about what Wrong will do when he dies. She just wants to stay with him, and the old man promises to never kill Luo no matter what. All he asks for is for her to survive even after he passes away. Back with the Zuge family, the boys are invited to stay for a few days. This is like heaven for them as they enjoy a bit of golfing and lavish meals. The guys eventually realize that they're trying too hard to get them to stay there and begin to wonder if they are under some kind of house arrest. Just then, Bidet sends Luo a message explaining that he has some information about the nunnery and he has good news about splitting brush spirits. More importantly though, he states that the Zugeis are bad people and the guys need to run away as soon as possible. Luo tries to think of a way to escape, but luckily Shiju arrives to help. Her conditions are simple. She will help them escape if they help her get revenge on the rest of the traitors that helped eliminate the chief. That night, they make their escape but are found by some strange guy. He tries to stop them, but the guys are surprised when the guy just lets them pass. It turns out that this guy's name is Chao and is somehow able to transport them back inside the gate every time they leave. Chao is the new chief, but Yan determines that they just have to defeat him. Chao pretends to be scared but just embarrasses Yan when he teleports him. Luo noticed that Chao stomped the ground before activating his ability, and he comes up with a guess. Chao must be transferring people in the reverse direction around his foot. He must only be able to transfer one person at a time, however, which is why he was waiting for them to run past the gate. Chao tells them that they are correct, but reveals that they have no chance of escaping. The group thinks of a plan and take off in all different directions. Chao confidently reveals that he can switch in different directions as well, but he realizes that he lost track of Yan. Yan knocks the loser out and points out that Chao didn't notice him because he was just standing still. On the way to the nunnery, Luo gets a call from a hospital about Bidet being severely injured. The stupid Uber driver will only take them to the nunnery, so Luo decides that he will go check on Bidet on his own. Afterwards, Yan and Shiju approach the nunnery, but they smell blood and find that a massacre had taken place there. Thanks for watching my recap. Sign up to my free newsletter if you want to show some support to the channel. Link is in the description.